Hey everyone, it's Jordan. So for this course, for the online instructional unit that I designed, I did mine on severe weather and natural disasters. So as we go through this together, just wanted to highlight some things here. So the first thing, communication structure. So the way that I designed my course, I did plan to have synchronous lessons all 5 days. And then obviously with the realization, I think a lot of us have seen this as well, that for some reason or another, students may not always be able to attend a synchronous lesson. So within each lesson, I did provide instructions at the very top of each day. So students can start there if they missed our synchronous lesson and they know where to begin. Within these instructions, then, I've posted videos of me just simply explaining, overall what we discussed in our lesson today, how the synchronous lesson went, some things that we talked about, and then any assignments that I'll need to do. So hopefully these short videos that I've posted can help students that miss a synchronous lesson for whatever reason. And again, I think this is super important because I think, as all of us have done online instruction in some way or form, now we just know that things happen and students are not always going to be able to attend lessons when they're supposed to. And again, those things that happen may not be within their control. So we need to be mindful of that. So I think it's really important that we do have things posted for those students, even if we are doing synchronous lessons. And again, I feel like synchronous lessons here are important. I do feel like that will build some community within the class, giving the students a chance to collaborate with me, with others, being able to actually see the students that are present in the class, being able to actually see me on a daily basis. And again, even though it is an online unit, still just trying to create that classroom feel for the students, just again to help, build that community so that as we go throughout the year online, when there are times where I do expect them to collaborate and work together, they have a general idea of, again, who is in the class. They can hopefully get to know some of the class members. So even at a distance, they are able to start form some relationships and things like that. So SEL strategies then, I've tried to incorporate these throughout the unit. So the first thing that I did here for SEL is I do what is called a daily check-in. So here in my building in the classroom, we use an app called PBIS, and the students are able to access that through Clever for those that use Clever in their classrooms. And so what I want them to do every day is just select the zone that we or that they are currently in right now. So we talk a lot in the beginning of the year about the zones of regulation, and then so when they go into this app, they have the ability to pick one of 4 options. So the green zone would be like the ready to learn. So if they feel that they're ready for the day, they'll select green, and then they have other choices. They can pick blue or yellow or red. And again, each of those colors kind of ties into a different set of emotions. And within this app, the students are also able to tell me, if they selected a color other than green, why did they select that? So, are they tired? Are they hungry? Are they bored? Are they nervous? Are they angry? Or just, a different range of emotions. And they're able to just explain a little bit about that to me. And again, this is a private check-in, so everyone does it, but then the results only go to me. So the students don't have to worry about, other students seeing, how they're feeling on a particular day. So again, I think that's just a really important piece to begin the day. Also, another thing I've included here within my lesson is just a little bit about me. So the way that I envisioned and designed this lesson, I don't have this being the very first thing that we do at the beginning of a school year. So all of the introductions and things like that we would usually do at the beginning of a year to get ourselves started have already been done. But then, again, I also need to be mindful that I may have new students that have been added to my class as the year has gone on, and I may need to reintroduce myself. So I've added this piece here, just a little bit about me. So I have a picture there, and I can pull it up. So I have a picture there of just, myself, my family, just some things about me. Favorite colors, favorite foods, favorite sports, just to name a few, subjects and, an either or of what I agree or what I enjoy. And then finally, just some goals that I have for myself. So again, just a little way for students to get to know me a little bit better. And at the beginning of the year, I also have my students do one of these as well, so I can begin to get to know them. So again, within this unit, I don't envision this being the first thing, so I'm not having students actually take the time to do this within this unit, but again, something here that's posted for new students that may have been added to my course that were not present at the beginning of the year. Also here, contact information, again, with online instruction, it is super important that students are able to get in contact with us. So I do have my email address listed, so that way students can be, contacting me throughout the day or throughout the week or throughout the unit or whatever they need. And again, I do reference that in my videos that the students watch if they aren't able to attend one of the synchronous lessons. Again, just reinforcing that, they do have an email address, so do I, and they can contact me via email should they need anything. So some of the standards. So when we did this back in Module 3, I looked at the QM Standards K-12 rubric. So just a couple of things I wanted to highlight here within my instruction unit that I really tried to make sure I included. So the first thing in the K-12 QM Standards rubric, so in the course overview and introduction, it says instructions are clear to learners, how to get started, and where to find essential course components. So with online learning, and I think a lot of us have experienced this as well, one of the biggest battles that students face is just finding where they're supposed to be. So at my school, we use Schoology as our main learning platform, so the students, at this point in the school year are really comfortable with it. But even with Google Classroom, and I've used this in the past as well, it is really important that students know where to go, especially if they aren't able to attend the synchronous lesson. So I tried to organize my unit in a way that they are clearly able to see where they're supposed to be doing. So I've titled each thing by the day, and then again, in each of the days, there is a piece that says, unit day 1 instructions, so the students know to start there. I've also tried to add some other things in each piece of the lesson. So for example, you can see on day 1, severe weather introduction, complete before our lesson, lightnings and thunderstorms, complete after our lesson. So again, if students are not with me live, they know when they're supposed to be doing things. And again, I think that's super important. Just to be mindful of that fact that, students they want to do the work, they just need to know where they can access everything. Another thing that I really tried to focus on were the types of assessments. So within the QM standards, the first one here for the assessment and measurement says the types of assessments in the course measure the stated learning objective or competencies are consistent with learning activities and resources, and the relationship with the learning objective or competencies is clearly stated. So again, within each of my days, I do try to have some sort of just formative assessment that kind of wraps up the day and the lesson, the topic that we focused on. And then at the end of my unit, I do have a culminating project where the students have a chance to do some discovery and exploration about a type of severe weather that we didn't have a whole lot of time to spend on together, so they can learn more about it and then create a project. So for example here, day number 1, the last assignment I have them doing here is just here a quick formative assessment on thunderstorms. So the first thing I have them focusing on is just identifying safe and unsafe places to be during a thunderstorm, and then I also have them using this formula to help decide how far away a storm is. So that would be an example of just a quick formative assessment. It kind of wraps up the thunderstorm topic and allows me to see that the students, have learned the desired content that I wanted them to learn for that day. The summative assessment that I have created here, then I'll highlight that quickly, is the students are going to be creating a public service announcement. So again, here on day 5, here's the directions that the students would have read through. I've provided them with some different links to resources that they may use for their storm or natural disaster. I've also provided them some links here for safety that they'll be talking about. And then also within this summative assessment, I do have the rubric attached, and I also have a sample attached as well. Now, I do specifically tell them the sample that I have attached for them is a great on-level example, and I try to do that in my actual classroom as well. Whenever I give the students examples, I try not to give them too much because I don't want students just copying what I did and turning it, into a product that they said they've created. I want them to, be creative on their own. So I try not to give them too much when I give them examples. I've done the same thing here for this instructional unit online, is giving them a great on-level example, and then I encourage them to go above and beyond to hopefully earn mainly 5s on their rubric. So assessments, I've already kind of hit those already as I've gone through, some of the different standards from the rubric here. But, just with assessments, I think we need to be mindful with our online units of making sure that we are constantly still formatively assessing. We need to make sure that our students are not falling behind, especially in the online setting. It is really easy, for students online just to kind of slip through the cracks, whether they miss synchronous lessons or whether they're just not doing work. And again, if we're not physically meeting face-to-face in a classroom, I think it is easier for students just to kind of tune out and become disengaged. So I think those formative assessment pieces are super important. Any way that we can, just be constantly and consistently engaging our students, whether it's collaborating with each other, whether it's, being online with me as their teacher, I think is just super important, that we're continuing to build those relationships. And we can do that, through formative assessments. And, with my unit, the formative assessments that I provided, I'm not necessarily grading. I don't think it's important that we grade every single assessment that we give. But again, just using them as check-ins and checkpoints and just ways for students to prove that they're with me and they're understanding. And if they're not, if I'm consistently seeing questions on, formative assessments that are incorrect, that's, for me, I need to go back and do some reteaching. And, we would do that in our regular classrooms. I think on an online unit, it's important to do that as well. Also, along with assessments, I did provide a pretest here for day 1 for students to be taking. And again, this gives me a general idea of what students already know. So that way, as I'm teaching this unit online, I know what I need to hit on a little more specifically, and I know some things that I can just touch on and then move on if a majority of my students already know the information. So I think a pretest is super important for any unit, whether it's face-to-face or it's online. So assessment is still a really, really important piece, even if the unit is an online unit like the one that we created. So student reactions. So I had a couple of adults actually go through this unit, and just a couple of reactions they gave. So they did say that my organization, they thought was pretty easy to navigate, just splitting it up by the days, splitting it up by, specific topics. One thing that, was brought up as I had a couple of people navigating this is just, the amount of information. Are some days too heavy? Are some days not enough? And again, with that, it's really hard to gauge, when you're doing this with an adult for practice versus when you're actually going to be doing this with, students for real. But I do feel like, the amount of information that I provided is appropriate for the age level that I was aiming for, which is the 5th grade, kind of ages 10 to 11 group of students. And, and I think also as we go through synchronous lessons, people have to keep in mind that there will be some discussions, there will be some things that, come up throughout our lessons that will take additional time. And it's important to have that time built in. So it's not just like we'll be doing only the material that I have posted here to Google Classroom. And I think a lot of us as educators realize that, and we see that in our, our live actual classrooms as well. Revisions, so things then, that I think I want to maybe consider after running this by a couple of individuals. So one of the things within Google Classroom is, we can create material, we can create assignments. So just being consistent on that. I do have like assignments and material within my days, but some of them you kind of can flip. So you can put a material within an assignment, or you can put an assignment within a material within Google Classroom. So maybe just going back and making sure, everything that I want the students to be completing, I've actually titled an assignment versus just material, and things that I just need them to use, maybe title that material versus assignment. So, just little things like that, which, to me, as I was making this, it makes sense to me, it makes sense to different adults, but again, you have to remember a lot of these students will be doing this at home, and they may not have, additional supports there as they are doing their online learning. So just really making sure that everything is clear and concise and, just available to access for all students in any sort of online form. So, that was kind of the big thing that I just want to make sure I'm continually being mindful of within an online unit is, just making sure that students are going to be able to do this and potentially do this on their own on certain days if they need to. So overall, this is my unit. And again, for those that watch this, provide feedback. I really appreciate the feedback that you give. And again, I'd really just encourage everyone to continue to, find ways to improve as online educators. This is a choice that, some people are taking a look at and maybe potentially selecting as their educational choice. And it is something that I feel like will become more popular as, school years move forward here.